Hello students, fourth year students particularly. Today we are going to have a new lecture about a feature that we find in the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot, which is the use of allusions. We already know that this poem is one of the finest examples of modern poetry. Actually, T.S. Eliot is very well known for using allusions. Actually, he extensively uses allusions in his poetry that sometimes you need to go back and read about these different and various references in order to be able to understand why he's using them, what's the idea behind them, which serves in the understanding of his poem. Okay, so allusions, actually there are many allusions in this poem, in the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, but I'm focusing here on just a number of them, not all of them. Of course, I have just allocated 6 of them here, and I'm going to explain them one by one. So the first thing that captures our attention actually in the poem is the epigraph in the beginning, which is taken from Dante's Inferno, and Eliot has kept the epigraph in its original language in Italian. The epigraph to this poem from Dante's Inferno describes Prufrock's ideal listener. If you read the epigraph, unfortunately I've not put the epigraph here, the original text, but the speaker is a character from Dante's Inferno and he's in hell. As Dante was talking to this person announced that he was placed in hell because he killed someone. You see, this is something disgraceful actually. So because he thought that Dante is someone who was placed in hell like him, he said that if I know that you will ever get out of this place, because nobody gets out of hell, then I will not speak my secret. I will not tell you, for example, why did I kill this person. But since I know that nobody goes out, then I will speak out. I will tell the truth about my murder, about this thing that I've committed, without fearing the infamy or to be disgraced by people, because they will know the truth about my crime. Okay. So what's the point behind using this epigraph? Why is it useful in this poem? We know that one of the main problems for Prufrock is having a listener to his thoughts, because he has all this overthinking in his mind and he has all these kind of ideas, and he wishes that he can speak out his mind easily. This is one of the main problems. But one of the reasons why he can't speak out his mind easily is that there is no an ideal listener for these thoughts. This is a problem, because we already know one of the problems of the modern times is that people are not able to communicate properly with each other. It's hard to find someone who listens to you. So what he intends from using this epigraph, Eliot, is describing the ideal listener, one who is as lost as the speaker and will never betray to the world the content of Prufrock's present confessions. Actually, Prufrock's, if you remember the poem, Prufrock's anxieties, when he was speaking about them as if he was confessing some kind of sin. And the problem with these anxieties is that Prufrock also is afraid that if he speaks out these problems and anxieties, that they will spread around and people will continue to judge him. So it is important that the listener be just like him, someone who's as lost as he is. Okay? The two men are both ashamed to speak of their story, and both do so in a confessional tone. Indeed, for Prufrock, this modern world is a living hell. So actually Prufrock is already in a place which is very similar to hell, just like the character from this epigraph. Okay, and he's constantly embarrassed by his very being. Okay, so they are so similar. I mean, the speaker who's looking for a listener and who wants someone who will understand his situation, Prufrock is also the same. He's embraced by himself, embarrassed. He's embarrassed, and at the same time, he's afraid that speaking out will make him shameful. So this is the significance of the epigraph in the beginning. The second one is the mentioning of Michelangelo, the allusion of Michelangelo. And we already know Michelangelo as a famous figure from the Renaissance. He's a painter, he's a sculptor. So he was an Italian Renaissance sculptor and painter. Prufrock feels that women engage in conversations about cultural figures like Michelangelo to show their sophistication and cultural superiority. So actually, you remember when he was remembering, or part of his thoughts were about these women he's going to meet. And he described them as talking about Michelangelo. And we know, and we interpreted this actually, if you remember, in our explanation of the poem, that since they are wealthy, aristocratic women, so they speak about cultural figures, or they are speaking about something related to art in order to show off that they are somehow sophisticated, they are superior to others. They speak about such important things to show their being well-educated women belonging to some high class. Okay, so this is the significance of mentioning Michelangelo. Number 3, we have marvels to his coy mistress. Andrew Marvell is a poet from the metaphysical period. Eliot alludes directly and indirectly to different lines from Andrew Marvell's poem to his coy mistress, such as when he several times he says, "There will be time." You remember when he kept delaying and repeating this expression, "There will be time, had we but world enough and time." This is from the poem of Andrew Marvell. In this poem, and you see, Andrew Marvell's poem is a love song as well. This is interesting because, you know, this is a traditional love song. It speaks about the feelings of love in a traditional way, and the speaker is actually speaking out his feelings of love easily and freely without being afraid of not being understood, just like Prufrock. You see, so the comparison here is between two love songs. One is traditional one, and the other one is a new and modern one, but lacks any kind of qualities that we normally find in traditional love songs. Okay. On the contrary, actually, the lover in Andrew Marvell's poem is very courageous. He speaks out his feelings without being afraid. Also, we have another one which refers to the same poem, to have squeezed the universe into a bowl. Notice here, in the poem, in the original poem, it says, "Let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one bowl." So somehow it's believed that this is an allusion to this poem, to his coy mistress, particularly that we know that it is a love song. So Eliot does this deliberately to create a contrast between love song of past ages and love song of a modern man. And it seems that the modern man, his love song is a confused one, not a real one. So number 4, John the Baptist. "Though I have seen my head grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I'm no prophet, and here is no great matter." This part in which he mentions bringing his head in a platter, this is actually a reference to John the Baptist, and we know the story from the Bible. احنا بالعربي نسميه النبي يحيى, John the Baptist, and the story of his head, يعني قصة رأس النبي يحيى. ممكن إذا نحب نرجع نقراها ممكن نكتشف شنو القصة، ولكن هنا القصد بها شنو؟ إنه يرجع إلى مسألة I'm no prophet. يعني هو يقارن نفسه. عادة مقارنات بروفروك مع الآخرين، مع الشخصيات، عادة ما هي مقارنات حتى يظهر نفسه أنه هو في الجانب الأقل وليس الأفضل. يعني هاي المقارنات عادة تصير ضد Prufrock وليس في مصلحتك. You see the comparisons that are made all the time, that Prufrock compares himself to someone, he is all the time in the lowest part of the comparison, not the best one. So it is a biblical allusion to John the Baptist. Prufrock feels that compared to John the Baptist, he is an insignificant man and his actions have no value. He's not, for example, this prophet has a certain message. He wanted to guide people through his message. But what about Prufrock? Why is so anxious and cannot speak? Is this thing that he wants to speak a great matter, just like the message of the prophet, for example? No, of course it's not. And what is striking is that Prufrock realizes this. He knows his situation. He knows, and he has maybe diagnosed himself, diagnosed the psychological problems he's suffering from, but unfortunately he's not able to do anything with them. Even if he was to be beheaded like John and his head brought upon a platter, people will only notice his ordinariness, the bald spot. You remember the bald spot that he described in his head? That people are going to judge him because of that. They would say that his appearance is not good. He's not good looking. He was worried about that. So he said, even if if a situation like this happened to me, even if just like John the Baptist, my head was brought in a platter, people will not be, let's say, horrified by seeing a head in a platter. Why? Because they would focus on the bald spot. Because I'm so much insignificant to the point that people will not even be horrified by my beheading. See, he's belittling himself so much. Okay, now the next one is number 5, Lazarus. The story of Lazarus. Remember he said, I'm not Lazarus coming from the dead. This part in the poem. Actually, Lazarus is a character from the Bible. The story of Lazarus is found in chapter 11 of the Gospel of John. Who's Lazarus? Lazarus was brought back from the world of dead by Jesus Christ. Okay? He wished to tell everyone his tale. So, again, Lazarus, what makes Lazarus similar to Prufrock? That he has something to say. You see, Prufrock all the time is mentioning people who are similar to him in terms of having something to speak about, but at the same time he's after making this comparison, he makes sure that he's not better, or what he wants to say is not as important as these people. He's doing this most of the time. Okay, Prufrock too wishes to speak up by shaking off his inhibitions. On one hand, Prufrock seeks oblivion, like Guido. Guido is the character from the epigraph, the first one. Okay, and on the other hand, he wishes to tell his tale. This is kind of irony, that as much as Prufrock wants to be seen, to be heard by other people, at the same time he wishes to be hidden from them. Okay, this duality is the central note of Prufrock's character. Okay, this is the main problem for Prufrock, that he cannot have or he cannot decide exactly what is suitable for him. This is number 5. Concerning number 6, which is maybe the most famous allusion in the poem, is the allusion to Hamlet, the famous prince and the famous procrastinator. We all know what's the problem of Hamlet. Prince Hamlet is the protagonist of William Shakespeare's tragedy Hamlet. Prufrock is indecisive. So was Hamlet. Actually, this is maybe the most famous indecisive character in the whole literature is Hamlet. Instead of let's say doing things, he kept speaking about them, kept philosophizing about them. Instead of, for example, going and taking revenge for his father, he was thinking all the time. He was philosophizing all the times. He's man of words, not man of action. Okay, so is Prufrock. However, Prufrock says that he's not meant to be a grand figure like Hamlet. Again, he's comparing himself to Hamlet, and at the same time he's diminishing himself. He's showing that he's not good as Hamlet. He can at best be an ordinary character like Polonius, who's not a glorified character at all. You remember, if you have studied or read the play Hamlet, you know Polonius. Polonius is the father of Ophelia, and he's one of the courtmen. He was not an ally to Hamlet, and he was killed by Hamlet. Polonius is considered to be a minor character, so Prufrock thinks that he's not as great as Prince Hamlet. He could be maybe some minor character in a play, that's all. Again, he's belittling himself. So this is what the and besides being similar to Hamlet, he also thinks that he's not as great as Hamlet. This is irony actually. يعني انت تشبه هاملت، انت شخصيتك بالضبط نفس شخصية هاملت، ولكن بيقارن نفسه يحاول يقلل من قيمة نفسه، وهاي هي مشكلة بروفروك. Okay, these are just 6 of them. I told you actually there are a lot of allusions. If you go through other sources, references in the internet, if you like, you would find other example and other allusions, not just the 6 that I have mentioned. But I think these are the important ones that we need to focus on. Another thing important about Prufrock is that it is a variation on the dramatic monologue, a type of poem which was popular with Eliot's predecessors. I think if you have also listened to the lecture of My Last Duchess by Robert Browning, I have made a video about it. You see that dramatic monologue was also explained in that poem, because Robert Browning is known to be the master of dramatic monologue. His whole poem is about a duke who was having this monologue, speaking alone, not alone, let's say he was the only speaker, and he was telling this story about the Duchess. And so we can say that actually this is another example. Prufrock is a modern dramatic monologue. 3 things characterize dramatic monologue. They are the utterance of a specific individual. So here in the poem, in Prufrock, we don't hear anything from anyone else, just Prufrock, the thoughts of Prufrock, the ideas inside the mind of Prufrock. Okay, not the poet. We have this differentiation between the poet and the speaker. We need to know that there is difference between them at a specific moment in time. Secondly, the monologue is specifically directed at a listener or listeners whose presence is not directly referenced but is merely suggested in the speaker's words. So not necessarily there is a listener all the time. Sometimes there is, sometimes no. Maybe the speaker is talking to us, the readers, the audience. Third, the primary focus is the development and revelation of the speaker's character. Why is it important to or why is it significant to use dramatic monologue? What's the purpose? What does it do? Why poets sometimes prefer to use it? Actually, because when you let the characters speak for themselves, if you have a character in this poem or in your work, and you let them speak by themselves, it helps in revealing more about them. Instead of telling the readers about this character, you show them the character. This is the difference between telling and showing. If you tell someone about something, maybe they are influenced, maybe they are interacting to you, but if you make the reader or the audience realize for themselves to be shown about this character, then it will reveal even the deepest thoughts and ideas about this character. Okay, so this is the importance of using dramatic monologue. That's why it is a good device that can reveal a lot of ideas. Eliot modernizes the form of by removing the implied listeners and focusing on Prufrock's interiority and isolation. This is a modern feature actually. The stream of consciousness, the free associations of ideas, how you make your characters speak, how you make the reader live inside the mind of the character instead of listening to what's going on from another narrator. This is a purely modern feature, okay? And actually, if we go through the devices that are used in these poems, there are many. And I think the Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock is one of the richest modern poems that can be explained many times, and each time you can find something new about it. So I hope this was helpful. I hope to see you in other videos soon. Thank you for listening.